I'm at the Blackmagic Design booth. I'm speaking to Dan. Dan, what is new and exciting with Blackmagic?
Well, we have to start, of course, with the DaVinci Resolve, which is obviously a crown jewel of our product lineup and obviously ties into so many workflows that are important to people today. And we've launched the DaVinci Resolve Studio 18 last week, and it's in beta, but it has a ton of new features that people are going to be really excited about, from new effects, new Fairlight, new fusion capabilities. But of course, what people are really talking about right now is our Blackmagic Cloud and our proxy generator app. And these are solutions that we're putting out there to try to connect more people across the globe. Of course, through the pandemic, people have realized there's this need to do remote workflows, but we're trying to look towards the future and how do we connect. Blackmagic's always been about lifting people up, being able to empower them. Now we want to connect all those people together, and that's kind of where this cloud strategy comes from. And the first thing everyone asks when they come to us, they're like, oh no, are you making a subscription-based service for, that's not what we're doing here. We don't want to create that kind of a workflow. But what we do want to do is we want to have people be able to share projects, work on the same timeline at the same time, and that requires this cloud-based solution. So when people talk about the Blackmagic Cloud, everyone can sign up to this Blackmagic Cloud, they create an account, and that allows them to have access to a Resolve timeline. Only one person has to actually pay money to host that actual Blackmagic timeline. It's a $5 a month charge to host one particular timeline. So that's the subscription-ish part of this. It's not to own Resolve, it's not the recurring monthly cost. If you're not using it, you're not paying for it. But that one person now has the ability to invite up to 10 people to that particular project to work at the same time. And if it was just that, that would be pretty cool because now I have multiple people working at the timeline at the same time. The hard part now is like, how do we deal with the media across all that? And that's where people the last couple of years have been somewhat struggling and somewhat piecing it together by using
Different companies.
Services. I could use Dropbox, I could use some kind of Google Cloud event. So what we want to do is we want to try to help add to that and make it less IT based, where I need to have a bunch of IT wizards around to make that happen. So right now in Resolve, you can go in and you can create a proxy, right? I've got my camera, I've got my raw files, this is awesome. I now want to create a proxy and I have to go in and kind of just make the proxy. It works, but when you're trying to do a big batch of everything, I want to take all these raws and now I can go ahead and set up a watch box. I can dump all those files in there. It'll automatically make all those H.264 or H.265 files for me. And that's important because if I'm starting to work with multiple people in multiple locations, I don't need the editor that's sitting down in Brazil to have these raw files. Them working off of those proxies will be probably good enough for the edit capabilities. So that's the first piece we added in there. The next thing we started thinking about was, well, how do we handle some of this other storage-based need? Because even if I have 5 or 6 people working on that same timeline at the same time, they all have to have the media in the same place. And that's where we really thought about our new cloud store solution. And that's the new storage solutions that we've come out with this week. And what's important to understand there is while these aren't necessary, we did want to build an actual storage solution that was made for television, film, and video. Most of these storage devices, they can get high capacity for low cost, but they're loud, they're slow, they don't actually have the performance capabilities that we kind of require for television, film, and video. So that was an important goal for us when we were looking at these devices. But the other thing we wanted to do here is we wanted to be able to say, look, if I have 2 of these units on each end of the Blackmagic Cloud, not only am I working in the same timeline, I want these units to be syncing each other across those proxies. So this part of this timeline where I can be in the US doing color and you could be down in Chile doing some edits and we can have someone in Japan doing Fairlight audio, we're all working in the same timeline and we can have all of our storage being uploading. We can have a graphical interface showing us how our storage is interacting with each other and we can be working on all this, and this is how we're going to help connect people into a way we think that post-production is going to be moving. It's not going to be about, I need to go down to the building to get everyone in the room to do everything. We want to connect people globally using this Resolve Cloud and these Resolve solutions. So Resolve 18 all in beta right now, but we're really excited to be showing people this year.
So it sounds like there's 2 parts to it. You have the Blackmagic Cloud part, which gives you the interactivity with the other people, but also the storage part. Is that right?
That's right. So it's 2 different problems you're trying to solve here, and that's why we wanted to be very sensitive to the fact that people might be really committed to part of the solutions they've already come up with over the last 2 years, and that's why I have to be very careful to be, look, you don't have to have the storage solution to use Blackmagic Cloud. Blackmagic Cloud is just being able to share the actual file and the project. If you want to share that media, you don't have to use this either, but it will help if I've got these sitting on both ends, or maybe I only have one on one end and I'm having people just go ahead and use out of Dropbox and they're downloading. But there's other benefits of having these cloud store products on both ends. Now, not everyone is going to go out and buy a 20 terabyte unit to just sit if they're just doing proxy-based edits. And that's why we've made smaller cloud stores. We have our Cloud Store Mini, which is an 8 terabyte solution for $3,000, and then we have our Cloud Pod, which is really just a dock that gives you the ability to use your own storage, and that's only $400. So that's a very easy way for someone to get that benefit of being able to use that same kind of media at the same time and being able to update without having to invest heavily into an actual big storage solution. So we're always trying to create pieces, and the customers will figure out which bits of those pieces they'll want to use for the workflow that's appropriate for them.
So if they're already invested in a workflow with another system, another company, then they can still use some of the benefits of the cloud system.
And that's the big point we want to make, is that, look, everyone can sign up for that cloud store. You're not into any cost. If you're an editor that's being invited to work on something, it's not going to cost you anything. It only costs something to the person that is hosting the actual project, because it does have some cost associated with that. But we want people to be able to look at this, to be able to work with this, to be able to get jobs and be able to be creative with people all over the globe, and then they can invest as much or as little as they need across whether they're using a Dropbox solution, whether they're using one of our cloud stores. But we're really excited to roll this out to people.
That's very cool. It's still kind of an emerging world with all the sharing, online sharing. I mean, we've had some existing companies that do that kind of thing, but I think it's still going to evolve and change over time, and people will probably find a use for it, as they learn what it can do.
That's right. And I think the big thing there is, if you're someone that's just working by yourself, some of these things aren't necessary, but that's what we see going forward, is especially with an application like DaVinci, where it's not just an editor and it's not just a color grading software, and that's great if you use it for all of those things. But if you start going through the whole, well, I'm doing a project and I'm the editor, but I need to find a colorist, it is so nice to be able to just have that same timeline being shared. No more conforming, no more trying to break things. Why is my media not linking to the same things? Because it's all one project, and that's really the benefit, one of the benefits of working with DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, I'm a diehard fan of Resolve. I started using it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I was just like, there's no going back to any of the other platforms for me. And some of the new features I've seen advertised are the depth map, is that what it's called?
Yeah, being able to, so we used to be able to do the depth map, we used to be able to do the object tracking where it was a person, but now you can pick any object and it can do that.
Okay.
We have all of our new neural engine updates into Resolve, which is pretty amazing. So I don't want to sell it short based off of just having these cloud features, because it is a full Resolve update, but those are feature sets, and the cloud thing is such a new, unique kind of work method. So,
well, the other thing I really appreciate is I watch these videos where they're always doing benchmark tests with all the different software pieces, and Resolve is like, it's either the leader or it's just right up there with the best of them.
Yep.
And it's because you're staying on top of the tech, all the different codecs, the different hardware, like on the M1 Max, and you're staying on top of it, so they're always optimized for these new devices. That's not what everybody else is doing.
It's so important for us because we understand that on all these things that people are looking for performance. This isn't, it seems like video creation and gaming are the two things that just really require that kind of performance capabilities.
Yeah.
And for us, it's always important to be like, look, if I can work on a proxy-based thing on a laptop, then that's great. But if I need to be working with the full raw files on a big machine and I need to be pushing that through for heavy VFX work, am I maximizing the capabilities of doing that? And that's something that we spend a lot of time and energy trying to maximize for DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah, well, when I see it beating Apple's native video editing software, I'm like, that's really impressive.
We've done a lot of work to do that, and part of it is some of that neural engine work that we've done, but it is always great for us to be able to go out there and deliver that kind of performance.
Yeah.